All right, let's go over some drawing here. And I'm going to talk really fast a little bit about kind of the positives and negatives of AI. I'm going to give you a little bit of a different perspective on the whole AI art thing and kind of the cataclysmic effect it's having on artists, including myself and pretty much everyone I know. It's going to be just a random thought, food for thought, and I think while I'm doing that, I'm going to be drawing. I'm gonna draw something. I'm gonna draw a dragon. I think dragons are awesome in their own way as well. So I'm gonna draw a dragon while we're talking here. And I want you to kind of think about what I'm saying, and I want to hear your opinion if you can chime in. When AI art was first came about, the very first thing I was thinking was like, oh, this is a joke, right? This is laughable. This isn't going to do anything. This is not going to be transforming the world or anything like that. And the very beginning, it was like these jokes, right? It was just kind of compiling random junk for the most part, and it wasn't really much of anything. I remember that really well. They did a whole video on it on the Corridor Crew as well, and it was kind of like, it would just paste together these funny things. It would look silly and weird. And then over time, they started taking pretty much copyrighted material and started putting it in there. And so far, I still haven't. I mean, if they're fighting it, I don't know. It just doesn't seem to be making any difference, in my opinion. And this copyright written material, it's just like, you know, it's like, man, is anybody gonna come to save everybody? I guess maybe not. But there's a positive thing to it. I've noticed, as far as you, as I'm assuming you're learning art, you're thinking, oh, is there gonna be no career to go to? And yeah, that's possible. There might not be as much of a career in it, but people are already very all over the place about it. But you're kind of thinking like, you know what? Why even do it? And in some cases, yeah, you might be valid in thinking, why even, continue this career path? I would say there's a lot of careers that it's never gonna touch, right? People are always gonna want to learn to draw. People are always gonna want to, show interest and want to be creative regardless of it. Thank God there's a little bit of a pushback on companies to not use AI. It's like a social pushback, which is something, which I think is kind of what's holding the dam back. But it's in some ways when you're practicing stuff, it feels kind of like, so the way I used to feel was I used to put a lot of pressure on myself to become like just an efficient artist. That's all it is. I was never trying to become anything amazing. I mean, obviously that was my goal, but I was just trying to become efficient and be as good as some of these people that I admired because they were so efficient. I never had to be better than them. I always kind of saw myself in a way that was like, you know what? Am I better than them? I'm not. I just never I saw myself as not cut from the same cloth, you know. And I thought, oh, I'll never get there, right? I used to think stuff like that. And I feel like if I still had that mindset now, I definitely cut that mindset a long time ago, but if I had that mindset now, let's just say I'm coming from that background, the good news is, as crazy as it may seem, it doesn't really matter anymore, right? Your ability to render and stuff like that doesn't really matter anymore, right? So if you're seeking that ability for an external reason, whether it be to impress somebody, or like, again, get that job, or something like that. The good news is it doesn't really exist anymore. As crazy as that sounds, as nihilistic, as that might be. The pressure's off, pretty much. It's going to be mostly about your ideas. And if you want to learn to draw, it's going to be, your motivation will probably be, well, it's almost going to have to be, well, I mean, it doesn't have to be. You can still make money off art, of course. But I'm saying it's gonna have to shift a little bit into self motivation. You're gonna have to self motivate yourself now. That's kind of what I've been doing as well since this stuff's come around. I'm more like, I want to get better at certain things because I just want to get better at them. I think it'll aid me in my general, drawing. It's not per se my general art career, although it will help that, because there will still be art careers. Like I said, people will still want human creativity, absolutely. But it's going to aid you in kind of getting self-motivated. It's no longer going to be about the external stuff. It's going to be about your internal want. Like, do you want this, and why do you want it? It's kind of forced me even to reevaluate why I'm doing this. What is there for me? I used to really like being good at rendering and shading. Shading, that's, I used to really take pride in that. And then, now it doesn't matter. The good part is it doesn't really matter. I want to become better at this art form, at our craft that we all share, because it's just fun to do. Honestly, it's fun to do. It's entertaining. There will still be money in it, don't worry. And it's just the jobs are going to be harder to come by than they used to be. And they're going to be looking for different things, right? It's not just going to be about how pretty your image is, right? It's going to be so much about the ideas now than it ever was. Ooh, dang. Oh, sorry about that. It kind of focuses and unfocuses sometimes. Hopefully it's kind of at least coming out there. And right here, I'm just kind of drawing any sort of dragon shape that I can think about, and kind of touching it up afterward, right? You're kind of going and taking this kind of messy approach to it. But like I said, if you're a practicing artist now, you're not really sure, keep it going. Absolutely. I don't know if, like, we'll see. I mean, the thing is, we don't know. Nobody knows what's going to happen. AI could stop with the legal precedent. Maybe that kicks in at some point and really halts it. Like people with their copyrighted stuff say, I want my stuff out of there, including anything it was used for. That could happen. Anything could happen. We don't know. We don't know what's going to happen. And I don't pretend to know either. I think it's a bad idea to pretend that we know what's going to happen. We don't know. And things have changed so quick. But I do know, the only thing I can be for sure about is people will still appreciate human art. They will. Maybe companies might not, but people will. There'll still be an audience for artists. There will. There are still people that will appreciate it. It's, that I guarantee you, there will be. One second, go over here, curving around there. And yeah, so it's just write the reasons down that you want to do this sort of thing. If they're all, if it's, you want it to work for a certain company, I mean, like I said, we don't know. Maybe it will still be fine. Like I said, they'll still have creative teams. They'll still have creative people there that know what's going on. It's just going to be less of them. You can still absolutely gain that goal that you want. Let me go into the shading now. I'm kind of looking at this. I'm like, you know what? I want to shade this a little bit better. And so I would say focus on your internals right now. So, for example, if you're kind of like, hey, this drawing stuff is kind of a drag, and it's kind of a drag because I have to do this, or I have to do this, or I have to do this in order to, you know, get better or do this. You got to change their perspective on that, and a lot of your perspective is going to change really internally. And so you could think about, what did you enjoy about drawing? What did you enjoy personally? What is your favorite part of this entire thing? Was your favorite part creating your own creations? Was it bringing to leaving a little part of yourself on the paper? Like, really think of these reasons, and it's great to do this because it really shows. Let me erase this, right? Like, erase the what do you call it? The pencil lines here, if I can find my eraser. But yeah, you wanna find out what's internally up, and when you write these things down. So for me personally, I get great self satisfaction out of like learning a skill. It helps me learn about myself. I think about so much more than I used to, simply because I can do this now. This kind of makes me feel like, hey, I can do something very difficult, and I appreciate it. That's pretty much what I did. I was never in it for, per se, financial gain. I wanted it to, though, right? I wanted to have that financial gain, and I did for a long time, and I still do. But that ever goes away, I'm not going to stop, doing art. I will not stop doing art. I will absolutely keep going. And you got to ask yourself that question too. Would you keep going if that happens? So write down those reasons for yourself. What are those reasons? There's a great book. I cannot remember the title of it, but basically it spoke about that phenomenon that when you start out work with things that you want to do, right? You start out a topic and you're like, you know what? I really want to do this. I want to do this as a career. And then as soon as you start doing it for financial gain, it starts to become not as fun anymore. It starts to kind of go, you know what? This is kind of a chore now. Now I feel trapped. This is not, what I initially got into this for. And I understand that. I felt that many times in, throughout my art career. And you just kind of, when somebody gives you a job that you don't really want to do, and you're like, oh, I don't want to do that. That's not fun, right? That's not fun to do. It can definitely put a damper on, like, not just what you're doing, but I mean, it can kind of put a damper on, like, drawing in general for you. I know for me, a great example of this was I got a job as a caricature artist at a theme park. And that was my first art job. It was a great learning experience. You tend to learn a lot when you're doing that because you're doing two things. You're not just learning for, like, you're not just drawing. That's not it. You're also an entertainer. It's not just the skill aspect there. It is literally, you are literally having to entertain and talk to these guests, right? Because it's kind of awkward if they're just sitting there in dead silence. But I still ended up, sometimes I did do that depending on my mood. Depending on my mood, I was still quiet. It was largely dependent on, on mood, right? But you get good at a couple of things. You get good at doing stuff on a timer, because that whole industry was on a timer, right? That job was pretty much drawing. Sorry about that. That's fogging it up. Pretty much drawing without making a mistake, because you're drawing in marker when you're drawing in, at caricatures and stuff like that. And you are, like I said, being paid for your expertise in the moment. It is so in the moment, right? And that whole thing was so scary to me. That in the moment sort of thing. That was so frightening that I ended up just kind of like going, you know what? This is, it made me want to leave, but I didn't. I didn't leave. I didn't leave because it was important for me to kind of go through hardship and learn. And I did. 2 years into that job, I was doing it easily. A lot of crazy stuff would happen. That's the way it would work. You didn't really know what was going to happen with that job. You kind of, like, as far as personalities, maybe somebody would reject your drawing, which is pretty rare that somebody would reject your drawing, but, it happened a couple of times. I think it happened to me 12 times ever or so. And you're drawing like 30 drawings a day for a lot of times, especially during the summer. So, I mean, that was just the name of the game, right? Was kind of experiencing hardship and rising above and figuring it out as things show up. And in many ways, we're there again with this AI stuff. We don't know where it's going to happen. We don't know what the future is going to hold. And all you can do is keep improving, keep finding a way, and that will help you in the end. That will absolutely be of value. But art is not going away, right? It's just the abilities, the ways we make art are going to change, and will change drastically. And it's already changing, right? It's changing rapidly already. So it just kind of, it's up to you to find your internal motivation, figure out if this stuff's worth it for you. Because if it is, lock in, right? Keep practicing, keep pushing yourself to your new heights, and you will be rewarded with, a skill level that you're really happy that you'll keep working on most of your life. And it's going to be worth it in the end, no matter what happens. You will have that skill and ability to express yourself in a way that most people cannot. If you just give them a pencil and paper, or or paintbrush, or you will have that. So celebrate it, figure it out. There's not much pressure anymore. The pressure is lower. So definitely explore that. But I don't know. What do you think? What are your thoughts on the whole thing? I think mine, like I said, are still relatively optimistic. Just to conclude my opinion here, I don't think regular art's going away at all. We just have to share the space with a lot of this fake art from AI. And the people that create stuff with AI and say they're artists. In some ways, there are some people that use it in very artistic ways, but in most ways, it's very dubious to me. It just kind of makes me laugh when they say that. So I almost don't even I say the word AI art, but I don't really, I don't consider the person behind it like an artist almost ever, pretty much. It's just somebody typing things in. And so that's kind of ridiculous to me. But yeah, let me know if you've had any experience or what's going on. I want to hear your thoughts in the comment section. And yeah, there you go. It's a little dragon there for you.